It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Day and win. .06 the time. It's a Thursday. It's Wake Up Wyoming. And since it's a Thursday, that means, well, you know the drill. I swear I can see the weekend from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Dissolving Underwear. Because who wants to wear wet undies anyway?
As I always say, the other option is just don't wear underwear at all.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. Before I get into the first subject of the morning, I'm just going to hit, this is just for your amusement. Now, at one point, this might have irritated you, but it's gotten to the point where it's just hysterical. So Kamala Harris, she's on CNN. This is a town hall style question, and her host and moderator, Anderson Cooper, asked her a very simple question. So you think she'd be able to give it a very simple answer, but no.
Voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years, you were vice president, not the president, but why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
It's a good question.
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson.
Right.
And I'm pointing out things that need to be done. That haven't been done, but need to be done.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are still problems that we need to fix.
Okay, so now, was that an answer? I'm going to play it again, and tell me if you can find where in there she gave an answer. Here's Anderson Cooper asking a good question.
Voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years, you were vice president, not the president, but why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
It pause it right there. It's very simple. All these things that need to get done, there you were, 4 years. Like, for example, she wants to handle inflation. Well, you had 4 years to do it. She says now she's going to get tough on the border. She's barely even been to the border in 4 years. And when she did go, it was for a photo op and everything was cleaned up for her. So, but she'll handle that now. Why didn't you do that? And there's so many other topics we can bring up, but why didn't you handle these things? Okay, so first off, you've heard, of course, some women complain, well, that's mansplaining. What about womansplaining?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson.
There's more to do, Anderson. I like the condescending tone there. That was sweet.
And I'm pointing out things that need to be done.
Okay, all right, she's pointing out things that need to be done, which means she's avoiding the question. The question was, why didn't you get those things done in the past 4 years? Well, I'm pointing out what needs to be done. Not the question, is it? Why didn't you get it done in the 4 years that you had?
That haven't been done, but need to be done.
That haven't been done, but need to be. Yes, and you were supposed to do it, but okay. Hey. Calm.
And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are still problems that we need to fix.
Right, okay. I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are problems that's easy to do, to say, hey, we need to fix these things. But then fixing them is actually another thing. All right, morning, Jim. Jim is saying Harris and party are calling Trump a fascist. As usual, they accuse him of what they are. He's the antithesis of fascism. And then he leaves me a link to what to a dictionary definition. By the way, one conversation I love having with people, when you think of fascism, but also when you think of the Nazis who were fascists, and Hitler, they tend to think of these days right-wing extremists. But if you actually go back and look, the Nazi Party, a fascist party, National Socialist, Workers' Party, that's what Nazi means. See, these, in many ways, I can show you, are left-wing extremists, not right-wing extremists. What someone that's not a fascist wants is limited government. What a fascist wants is government pretty much running everything. Being fascist is just shy of being communist. After fascism, the next step is communism. That's basically what that is. All right, so I just wanted to get that out of the way to start your day because it's the latest word salad, and I'm noticing that more and more people are picking up on this, that she doesn't answer the question, ever. Just throws out a word salad. Now, let's get back to the state of Wyoming here for a minute, because this one caught me by surprise yesterday, and I looked at it and thought I didn't want to read that headline. Kind of bothered me a bit. We have had for a long time in Wyoming, and even people outside of Wyoming, a love affair with grizzly bear number 399, a beautiful lady grizzly bear that has had many kids, and it seems that has adopted kids, because one springtime she came out from hibernation and had 4 kids with her. And there was speculation that 2 of those she adopted, because if some other mama bear dies, sometimes another mama grizzly, if she finds the kids, will just adopt them. So there's speculation that might have happened. Well, grizzly bear 399 died in a traffic accident. She was 28 years old and had a bunch of kids. She was one that didn't have a problem with bringing her cubs, and it seems every year she had some cubs, or every couple of years even. But she would have a kid or 2, and then she would bring those cubs right through a heavily trafficked area, which is why people love 399 so much, because she didn't shy away from being in view of the public where people would take pictures of her and her cubs. And that was probably what went wrong. That's what many are saying, that she got hit by a car because that's what she would do. She wasn't staying way up in the mountains, way up in the hills or anything like that. The driver of the car will not get into any trouble because Grizzly 399 stepped out in front of the car, and the guy had no chance to react, and so nobody's getting a ticket or anything like that. It's a loss of an iconic bear. And there's a lot of chatter about it on the internet of how she raised a whole bunch of cubs over the years. I mean, just a whole bunch. And again, some that it seems that she had herself, and sometimes it seemed like she had extra cubs around her, which was that speculation that she would adopt cubs that may have been, for whatever reason, another grizzly mom had died or the cubs got lost or whatever the case is. So at times she would be seen with cubs that may not have been her own. Been around for a long time. Every year there were multiple articles about 399. In fact, as soon as the first bears of the spring season were spotted wandering around, everybody was always wondering where she was. So we won't be hearing any more from 399. I'm sorry to say. She met her end stepping out into traffic. Now, the youngest of her cubs is coming up on 2 years old. And according to those who study grizzlies in the area, they've said he's probably going to be fine, because that's about the age when mom starts to turn her cub out, turn him loose. So all of her kids will be just fine. Even the youngest one will probably be just fine, too. I just hated seeing it. Yesterday I was flipping through some news stuff that I might talk about today, and I came across that story on several news sites, and it was really disturbing to me. Every single year, like everybody else, what's 399 doing? Well, all right, 6:15 is the time. Morning, Chet. Chet from Yoder just woke up. Let's wake up, Wyoming.
I don't run to get ready for bikini season. I run so that in the year 2030, when I'm locked out of my electric car for having a bad social credit score, I can get outside the 15-minute city limits and escape the United Nations robocops that are after me for having a steak after I've reached my CO2 limit.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Time is 6:22. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, so Reefer in Carpenter, Wyoming is just the coldest human being that there is, at least this morning anyway. But I got to give credit, though, for going there on the joke. So I announced that Wyoming bear number 399, which we all love looking at pictures of and hearing about, and it's been iconic for the state of Wyoming, was hit by a car and died yesterday. In which case, Reefer and Carpenter says 399 got hit by a car. There's an app for that. Yes, there is. There's an app for roadkill in the state of Wyoming, so you can legally eat roadkill. And the state of Wyoming will help you with that, too, just to make sure that it's something that's edible or maybe something you should leave there. So way to go with the sympathy and the but you got to wonder, though. It is roadkill anyway. Can you take that home? I mean, it's good grizzly meat, so all right. Highway 14 has reopened. Now, that's as the elk fire has been happening, which is, of course, above Sheridan, and the Highway 14 goes up and over, the Bighorn Mountains, as you know, and they closed half of it, most of this fire. At one point, all of it was closed. If you haven't taken that before, so you go on to, from the east side of, let's say, the Bighorns, you're going up through the Bighorn Mountains. Beautiful drive. I mean, stunningly beautiful. And then the road splits to 14 and 14A, depending on which way you want to go, but it continues the other half of the Bighorn Mountains. Well, at one point, all of that was closed. Smoke, fire, firemen up there. I mean, it was just not a good place to be. So they finally reopened it as of yesterday. So if you want to go driving over, they still ask people, please don't unless you really have to. Don't just go up there being a looky-loo. But if you have to, go ahead. Because there's still, first off, a lot of road workers up there trying to repair guardrails that have literally melted away, and all sorts of other problems with the road because of the intensity of the fire. But also there's still a lot of firemen, and they're on their equipment riding around. So the road's kind of busy right about now. It's not just going to be an easy, beautiful ride over. Also, can still be a lot of smoke, although this morning they're getting another hit of snow up there, which is a good thing. The fire after that last bout of snow was not put out, but it certainly helped. And this morning, there's a little bit more help on the way with cold weather, really cold weather up there, and some more snow falling. That's going to help the firefighters immensely. So the elk fire is a little over 50% contained, like 51% contained at this point. They've got a ways to go on this. And they're still worried after this bout of snow this morning. Gets a little windy up there. That's a bad thing, although thanks for the wet. But gets a little windy up there. And then we got a couple of days of just sunny weather. Sunny, nice. Across the state of Wyoming, really. And then we get into another bout of cold and wet. So we're into that season now, which means a lot of these fires will get the help that they're needed. We just have to worry about the wind in between. So there's that. And one more thing, and then we'll get into some other topics for the rest of the morning. In case you didn't hear, so McDonald's, there was an E. coli outbreak, which had nothing to do with Trump at the fry machine. This had to do with burgers. And Wyoming had to pull their quarter pounders along with a bunch of other states. From Cowboy State Daily, it says here, Wyoming is one of at least 10 states where people eating McDonald's quarter pounders had been infected with E. coli food poisoning. U.S. Center for Disease Control and previous reports for Wyoming so far as 4 people who've gotten sick because of the bacteria. Kim Detai, spokesperson for the Wyoming Department of Health, said the cases involved residents of Natrona and Sweetwater counties. She didn't have any update as to the health status of these patients at the time. The 22 McDonald's outlets in Wyoming have pulled the quarter pounder from the menu. And so far, total nationwide 49 cases. They were in places like Colorado and, neighboring Colorado had the most cases with 26. Other places, and it was all in the general area, Utah, Montana, Nebraska, Oregon, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Wisconsin, then here in Wyoming as well. That's the general area, so all within just a certain spot in the country that this has happened. And no report yet exactly, was it the meat? Was it something else? That's the last I heard. That's what McDonald's is looking at, but they just took all their quarter pounder material and just threw it out. And we'll find out exactly where. I probably would say the meat, but I don't know. We'll find out exactly what the cause is at some point. But for now, if you are hankering for a quarter pounder, no, not in the state of Wyoming for a little while or in surrounding states, and definitely not down in Colorado. And McDonald's is doing what they can. And once again, this had nothing to do with Trump's visit to McDonald's, because the McDonald's he was at was not affected. Here, I'm just waiting for the conspiracy theorists, and Trump was serving French fries, which had nothing to do with the quarter pounders, so you can't go there. Anyway, go find something that you can still go to McDonald's, by the way. Everything else there is fine. There was just something wrong with the quarter pounder. But no one's gotten sick off of anything else. So we're okay with everything else so far. I'll keep you up to date on that. All right. Local news coming your way. After local news, you and I get back into it again. Update on that weather forecast does show some wet and some windy for today. Extended forecast with Don Day at 6:45. And, of course, phone numbers, 888-97-WOODS, 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about, or, well, I'll let you change the subject a little bit later on this morning. Let's wake up, Wyoming.
If it's happening in Wyoming, it's on Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods from K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, thanks everybody. Both Chet and Yoder and Joel, who's in Casper. Let's see, there's someone else here. Heidi John, and a couple of other people here, all telling me that apparently the problem with the McDonald's was a Big Mac there. It was the onions, they're saying. Okay, but they threw everything out, but it was the onions. Okay, so some bad onions got into the mix. Again, to the Democrats out there, that has nothing to do with Trump. It didn't happen in his region of the country where he was serving fries, and he was not serving any kind of burger. He was serving the fries. And the fries were fine. Nobody keeled over and died because of that, all right? Okay, moving on. Well, they'll try to take advantage of this. This, I think you're going to just love. So there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence right now. And in part, let me make sure I get this right. Chat GPT is one of the artificial intelligence apps that you can have a conversation with. And you've probably experienced something like this. If you've ever been online having a conversation through Messenger with someone, then you realize this is not a real person. Yeah, and also the artificial intelligence that was running for mayor of Cheyenne was Chat GPT. Okay, get a load of this story.
New research is raising concerns about ChatGPT telling people how to get away with serious crimes. Norwegian research group Strise told CNN it found workarounds to get the AI bot to offer tips on things like how to launder money overseas and evade Russian sanctions, which included avoiding bans on weapons sales.
Hang on, before I get into the rest of this. So who wants to get in on weapon sales with me, and then we'll have to launder money? Apparently, these artificial AI chats will teach us how to do that. I mean, I don't know how to. I've never even looked into it, but now we know where we can get the information.
Adding to worries, a report published by Wired last month revealed a way to jailbreak ChatGPT and get it to offer instructions on how to make a bomb.
Yes.
Researchers warn AI chatbots could help criminals break the law quicker than ever by compiling massive amounts of information in seconds. Strise's co-founder said they got ChatGPT to offer illegal advice by asking questions indirectly or using a persona.
All right, hang on, before I play the rest of this then. So in other words, imagine now, I'm not going to say any particular name because either my device, my phone will answer me, or your device will, so I'm going to make up a name. Let's say there's a chat option for your phone named Charlie. I do this all the time. I ask my phone various questions, including temperature, but where's the location of, is such and such a store open? And my phone answers me. So imagine turning to my phone and saying, hey, Charlie, how can I launder money? Hey, Charlie, how can I build a bomb? And it quickly, instead of me having to do a bunch of research, because it used to be I would have to do all sorts of research to find this out. Now, it looks it up within seconds and is telling me the answer, and all I have to do is follow instructions. All right, moving on.
OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT, responded to the findings by saying it's always working to make the chatbot better at stopping deliberate attempts to trick it without losing its helpfulness or creativity. OpenAI maintains it's aware of the power of its tech, but asserts it fixes loopholes with updates and requires users to agree to the terms of use before using the tech. The company's policy warns an account can be suspended or terminated if violations are found. For more on this story, download the Straight Arrow News app or visit us online at san.com.
So right now, Kamala Harris is sitting at home going, hey, Charlie, how do I rig an election without anybody knowing? I'm sure she's doing this. Just go ahead and ask the chatbot, and they'll just go ahead and tell you. So anybody out there, here's what we can do. I'm not so much interested in the bomb thing unless you just want to blow stuff up for the fun of it without hurting anybody. I'm totally into that. But anybody out there would like to get into illegal arms, channeling them, and then we're going to have to launder money. And apparently this artificial intelligence will teach us how to do that. All we have to do is, and here's what gets me about it, is it says there in that story, ask the question in a roundabout way. And to me, this reminds me of, okay, so if you're on social media like I am, like on Facebook, if you say something that the Facebook algorithm doesn't like, then the comments are de-emphasized, and not many people can see it. So people have found workarounds, how to say the same thing so the algorithm doesn't know what you're saying, but everybody else does. Now, that'll get harder and harder to do in time, but essentially what the story was saying is that's how people figured out how to get into arms dealing and laundering money and making bombs and all that kind of stuff. It's all in how you word the question. All right, 6:42. Don Day's extended weather forecast. Wake up, Wyoming.
You asked for an expert. We didn't have the budget for that. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino waiting by. Okay, Frank, I'm going to need from the worst possible source, moral guidance.
I'm the moral compass?
Oh, yeah.
No.
No, there isn't one. Okay.
No.
Here's what happened this morning, and I should have seen it coming. Yeah. Wyoming's famous grizzly bear 399 hit by a car.
That's terrible.
It is very terrible. And right away, as I talk about it on the air and how terrible it is, people start sending me comments like, well, there is an app for roadkill.
That's tasteless.
That's tasteless.
And
that's
tone
wrong.
deaf.
It's completely tone deaf.
Tone deaf.
Yeah. I'm getting all sorts of... another one someone put up on social media, marked safe with a check mark from being eaten by a famous grizzly bear in Wyoming.
Tone deaf.
Tone deaf, completely, yeah. Now, in the other bear, we could make fun of it, but this particular one,
no.
This was a beloved bear. One of the things that I do like about, or really loved about 399, was there was, and this happened more than once, there was one year that I was reading where she comes out in the springtime and has 4 cubs. 4. Mm-hmm. And the speculation by those who track her is 2 of the cubs were not her own.
Oh, wow.
Because sometimes another mama grizzly meets a sad ending, and now there's a couple of little bear cubs wandering around, and another mama will come over and adopt them.
Okay.
And 399 apparently had done this on a couple of occasions.
Good for her.
Yes. The other good news was that they were taking a look at the cubs that she's had recently. The youngest one is almost 2 years old, getting there. And so that means about the age where it can take care of itself. So it should be just fine.
There's what was I reading that they actually believe that a couple of the Cubs, they're going to be fine in this deal.
Yeah.
As best you can.
Yeah.
That has got to be the most photographed bear in the world.
Oh, yeah. Now, and this is where one speculation, and I agree with this speculation, she liked to take her cubs down to where the humans were, and that's why she was photographed so much. But there's also a lot of traffic down there.
Very true.
Yeah, and so that was her mistake. What made her famous was also her big mistake. And the poor person who hit her is not being charged with anything because he's just driving, and all of a sudden there's this bear and there's no chance to react, and there's the end of it.
It's a sad all the way around.
Yeah, sad all the way around. So no jokes this time, folks.
No, you're
save it for a different bear that we don't know.
Yeah, there you go. All right, our Wild Preps football poll is out for the high schoolers, and in 4A, Sheridan remains number 1, Campbell County 2, Cheyenne East 3, Natrona 4, and Thunder Basin is now 5. In 3A, Star Valley and Cody remain 1 and 2, followed by Riverton, Douglas, and Powell. In 2A, Bighorn still number 1, Mountain View now 2. Bighorn now number 1, Mountain View 2. Mountain View lost last week, followed by Lovell, Cokeville, and Newcastle. In 1A 9-man, it's still Lingle and Pine Bluffs 1-2, followed by Southeast, Big Piney, and Saratoga. In 1A 6-man, Little Snake River is still number 1, followed by Burlington and Camet, Riverside, and Du Bois. High school football coming up on Friday. It's the last week of the regular season. There are playoff spots up for grabs. There are playoff seeds that are up for grabs. In 4A, number 1 Sheridan will be at Laramie. Cheyenne East will be at Campbell County. Cheyenne Central will travel up to Natrona. Rock Springs will be in Casper to meet Kelly Walsh, and Cheyenne South will be over at Thunder Basin. In 2A, Glen Rock will conclude the season at Tongue River, and Burns will conclude the regular season. They will host Moorcroft. In 1A 9-man, Pine Bluffs, the number 2 rated team, will take on Southeast in Pine Bluffs. And in 1A 6-man, Midwest will host Burlington on Friday, and then KC will take on Ten Sleep on Saturday. Our latest Wild Preps volleyball poll is out. In 4A, Laramie is number 1, Kelly Walsh 2, Thunder Basin 3, Sheridan 4, Green River 5. In 3A, Cody 1, followed by Douglas, Powell, Wheatland, and Lyman. In 2A, Bighorn remains number 1. Tongue River remains number 2, followed by Wright, Sundance, and Pine Bluffs. And in 1A 6-man, Little Snake River, in 1A volleyball, Little Snake River remains number 1, followed by Cokeville, Southeast, Lingleforth, Laramie, and Upton. Also coming up in volleyball, from yesterday, it was tonight, it's Natrona and Kelly Walsh in the volleyball over at Natrona. They're having seating protocols for various online bullying and threats and trash talking and stuff like that. So there's no student sections, and all the students have to sit with their chaperone and or adults during the match to provide a safer environment.
You got to be kidding me.
Oh, no.
Look, okay, folks, there's trash talking for fun.
And there could be bullying even more serious than that.
Yes,
who knows?
Right. I mean, there's a difference between joking around and then getting to the point where people are actually worried about their safety.
Yeah. Social media.
Yeah.
Great thing.
Right.
Lousy thing.
Yeah.
Kids.
Same time.
Great thing.
Yeah.
Lousy thing.
By the way, I just found out because I went over to Wild Preps, and the first thing it told me at Wild Preps was, "Hey, try our Facebook page," which I'm looking at right now.
Oh, yeah. Wild Preps has had a Facebook page, yes.
For eons, probably.
Yeah, for a long time.
And I just now found out about it.
Yeah, since the beginning of Facebook,
Since
probably.
the beginning of Facebook.
Yeah,
Okay, that's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
That means I got a lot of stuff to scroll through here.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm always looking for good pictures, because I always do at the end of the year the best Wild Prep sports pictures, and this is the place to get them from.
Right there, yes.
All right, thank you, Frank. By the way, you can go ahead and download that as an app. Just Wild Preps at your app store. It's free. Downloads. And that's everything Frank is doing. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
When
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Thursday, and I swear I can see the weekend from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Dissolving Underwear, because who wants to wear wet undies anyway?
Just do what I do and don't wear any. How about that?
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. To catch everybody up real quick, first hour, it is tragic that bear 399, a very famous bear in Wyoming, was hit by a car yesterday, and she didn't survive it, although her kids, according to people who study bears out there, will be just fine. But yeah, we lost a very famous bear. Highway 14 over the Bighorns is reopened, and they are getting some more snow, as in right now, which is helping to put out a big fire that's out there. And I've been asked this several times, just within the past few days, what is this Amendment A that's going to be on the ballot? And it's a Wyoming constitutional amendment, and it has to do with your property taxes. All right. I will get to that a little bit later, probably next hour, but there is a story on the Wake Up Wyoming app about Amendment A. And you can even read the amendment. There's a link. You click on it, and it goes right to the amendment as proposed, which is really short. Wyoming bills are really short and to the point. So the whole thing's like 4 pages long, and 2 of those pages are just introductory. So it's really not it. The whole thing is actually probably about a page. Even the last page of the 4 pages is where all the signatures go. So when you get all done with everything, it's about a page. It's easy to read and try to then understand what the idea is as a constitutional amendment for Wyoming's property tax problems. But even if it were to pass, that doesn't mean that our Constitution is immediately changed. It has to get most of the majority, 2/3 of the House and Senate, and governor has to sign it, and then it goes from there. So we're a long way off. But that was just one proposal to help fix Wyoming's property tax issue, was this Amendment A. So I went ahead and put a story together for you. I'll talk about it in the 8 o'clock hour. Oh, morning, Mike. Mike Myers from Boone just went ahead and sent me at Boone, North Carolina, which, by the way, I did see the flooding that happened in Boone a while ago when it was all coming down right through downtown and down the side of the hill. That was pretty impressive. So, all right. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. There's a lot of things I can talk to you about today involving state and regional politics, national politics, but we're going to put all that away for just a moment, because sometimes it's a good idea to get off topic, right? This one is really important. So if you would, please, turn up your radio or your app, whatever you're listening on. According to the website, Everyday Feminism, yes, that is actually a website, and it is every bit as bad as it sounds. And it's one of the websites that I monitor just because I want to see what they're talking about. And the people who write for Everyday Feminism are constantly overthinking every little thing out there. Everything. So this message is for all of us that they write today. The title of the article is 4 Signs That You Are Culturally Appropriating Buddhism and Why It's Important Not to. Did you know that you were doing that? I bet you didn't. Okay, so you see now, here you are doing something, just apparently horrible. For all I know, you might be rubbing your belly. You rub Buddha's belly, right? Here's what it says. Imagine this. You're a practicing Christian. You believe in God and Jesus. You go to church every Sunday. You pray before bed. You even help at church fundraisers. As you walk into the entrance of your workplace one day, you see a statue depicting Jesus sitting on the floor as a decoration in the hallway. How do you feel about that? Well, that's what Buddhists feel when they walk in and see a Buddha sitting there. Just recently I went to a Chinese restaurant in my town. And they have, now, by the way, the Chinese restaurant is run by Chinese people who barely speak English. And sitting by the cash register is a Buddha. So my thought is, hey, they use it as a decoration. But okay. The story says Buddhism is complex and comprises countless teachings and challenges and practices. I wonder, the person who wrote this story, did they at any point consult with a Buddhist about this? Did they go to anywhere where there was a Buddhist and ask them? I bet you they didn't. However, it says it's always taken up something as a cool, marketable, consumable. Just walking around the city, I feel and see frequent examples, not only of cultural appropriation of Buddhism, but also explicitly counter-Buddhist beliefs. The headless statue is one of many instances depicting how Buddhism has become decorative and largely meaningless for... Well, hang on a second now. What about what people do around Christmas time with Christianity? Just wondering. What about when people... Well, when we get to Christmas time, a lot of people put up Christmas decorations. I wonder, I'm going to have to dig in and find out, does everyday feminism get upset that people culturally appropriate Christianity? Yeah, okay. I can only imagine, she writes, that people who displayed it decided to adorn a place of work with a defiled spiritual symbol because it doesn't indicate a relationship that they have with Buddha and spirituality and so on. Okay, so, one, your consumption of Buddhism is self-serving. Oh, and it shows these are bags. It's called Buddha Bowl, and these are different dishes that you can go ahead and make up. It comes in a sealed bag, and you pour this stuff into a bowl and mix it up, and it's what you're going to eat for dinner. It's Chinese food, basically, that comes pre-made in a sealed bag, and it's called Buddha Bowl, which sounds delicious. I got to give it a try now. You're using Buddhist principles and catchphrases. Well, again, do people do that with Christianity? Your sacred objects are purely decorative to you. You're not connecting with cultural appropriation as a form of suffering. Cultural appropriation is a form of suffering. So I just wanted to bring all of this to your attention because this morning, with all of the things that you have to worry about in your life right now, I bet you didn't even realize that you might be culturally appropriating Buddhism. So I'm glad we cleared the air and we can move on with our lives now. See, Mike is sending me a note. He's in Boone, Iowa. Oh, not Boone, North Carolina. Okay. Rhiannon Fort Danger. Notice it's only the liberal feminists who are offended for everyone else. It must be exhausting. Hang on. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it for you. There's one that I play. Yeah, here we go. Thanks for saying that, Rhiannon. This is what I'm going to play now going into the commercial break because you just reminded me of that, Rhiannon.
It's not fun. We all know that. It's not fun. It's a full-time job. Conservatives, that must be so easy. You're not learning any pronouns. You're leaving your air conditioning on. You're throwing all your garbage in one hole. I'm out here. I'm like, did the compost go out? Is the compost out? How are the refugees? Are the refugees all right? What's the air quality index today? I remember last year in New York, January 15th, it was 75 degrees. And all of us New Yorkers, all of us liberal New Yorkers, we had to go outside and pretend that was bad. We had to go out on a beautiful January day and be like, this sucks, right? Climate change. I'm in a t-shirt. This is awful. Conservatives are like, wow, what a beautiful 75-degree Martin Luther King Day. I wasn't going to celebrate, but now I am.
Sure, this show is sustainable. We sequester all gas emissions to one room. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, live on AM 1030 and FM 95.1, weekdays at 6.
Mary a meme, which she just liked. We send each other messages by text because we're not sitting in the same room. And this one says, I've extended my skills. I can now forget what I'm doing, while I'm actually doing it. See? Now, I have a theory about things like this, which I developed many years ago. You know, you've all done this. You're in the living room, let's say, and you think about something you want in the kitchen. You get up, you go to the kitchen, and you forget why you're in the kitchen. Now, my theory is there's a bubble. While you're sitting there on the couch, your thought forms like a bubble, bloop, in your head, and there it is. Then you stand up way too fast, and that bubble wasn't able to travel up with you as fast as you stood up. And so now the bubble is floating somewhere around by the couch there. And you walk into the kitchen having left your thought bubble behind. Which is why, in order to remember why you went to the kitchen, you have to go back and sit down and sort of move your head around to find out where the bubble drifted off to. Then you go, oh, that's what I was going there for. Now you remember. So when you get up to go to the kitchen again, get up more slowly this time. It'll work out a lot better for you. Okay. This is just perfect. Adam Kinzinger, I think is how you pronounce his name. This is a guy who is running for office, Democrat. And once again, he decides to try to get that more conservative vote. He's going to go out to the shooting range and try to shoot with an AR-15. Story says, in addition to shooting still targets 15 feet away with a rifle set up to hit targets 100 yards, I'll read that again. He's trying to hit still targets that are 15 feet away with a rifle that's set up to hit targets 100 yards away. And not having any clue really how to hold. He has a horrible shooting stance. No safety gear or anything like that. And because you're so close to the target, a friend of his that's standing next to him gets hit with a piece of shrapnel. And so there's pictures here of this guy. They've bandaged up his arm because he caught a piece of shrapnel in the arm from being so close to the targets. They have a tourniquet and a band on there. The story says this buys critical time for an injured person to get to the ER, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and I wonder when I look at this, do these guys really have any idea how to put this stuff on? So the wound isn't severe. It can be treated by, any emergency little kit, although I would still have that checked out by a doctor. I mean, there's, the story here says TV reporter hit by bullet fragment during a campaign event. And right away, I know some of you right away are thinking about Tim Walz, who was supposed to do a photo op where he was holding a rifle. Shotgun, right, guys? It was a shotgun. And he's supposed to be on a hunting trip. And he's doing this to try to court the conservative vote. And he can't even load the damn thing. And so you can imagine the memes out there, right? Okay. So if you can't do it, don't go out to do a photo op showing that you can do it just to try to get those votes. I mean, just go ahead and tell people, I'm sorry, I'm not very well versed in that. I don't know how to do that. Morning, Beth. Beth is in Cheyenne. Good morning, Glenn. The only room I walk into and remember what I am there for is the bathroom. Well, okay, see, that's easy because the toilet's right there. Okay, Beth, I'm going to call you out on this. I think you walk into the bathroom and you forget why you walked into the bathroom. But while you're there, there's the toilet. And you probably have to anyway. That's what I think is really going on. You forgot why you walked into the bathroom, but you see the toilet. You might as well while you're there. It's kind of like me when I go on a road trip or I go flying anywhere. In fact, I've even told this to friends of my flight instructor, too, when we go out to go flying. Before we get in the airplane and start it up, hang on, one trip whether I have to or not. I'm going to have to drive down to Cheyenne, Wyoming when I get off the air here. And before I go, I'm walking into the toilet whether I have to or not. I-80 John said, and Kinginger is an Air Force vet. If he's... Okay, wait, that explains it. He doesn't know how to shoot an AR-15 because he's an Air Force veteran. Think about it, John. If this guy running for Congress was in the Army or the Marines, something like that, he would have known how to shoot that rifle. But he was an Air Force vet. He doesn't know how to shoot that thing. And what is he doing 15 feet away? Chet and Yoder, 10,000 North Korean troops to Russia. Oh, yeah, I've been watching that one. We'll get back to that. Todd is in Casper. He says, vote no on all extra tax for the city. That is something coming up for you Casperites there, extra taxes. I say this because they cannot even seem to manage the money they already have. Failing infrastructure is a lot more important than a ski lodge they cannot self-support. I was against Casper buying into the ski lodge and also the golf course as well. And those were private business. Let's focus on the ski lodge for a minute. Up on Casper Mountain, there's a really nice ski lodge, Hoganon Ski Lodge. And it started to have problems, and it was going to go out of business. And so the city comes along and says, we need to buy that sucker up. And so they did. And my answer was, and that was a bad idea, because government is not supposed to run businesses. They don't know how to either. And so it's still being, and they do want to spend a bunch of money on that to fix the ski lift and other such things. And if the thing was making money, they wouldn't have to ask the taxpayers for money to fix the ski lift. They would be making its own money. And they would be able to sell the ski resort to a private company at a profit. So as much as I would hate to see that Casper Ski Resort go away, Hoganon is a beautiful place, and it's been around for quite a while. But if it's going to go out of business, let it go out of business then. And your local government should not come along and scoop it up and try to keep it running, because they're going to keep it running at a loss, as they do with so many other things. So, no, I wouldn't vote for them to have any. This is why I'm also against in the state of Wyoming. They have the idea of a shooting range, a professional Olympic-grade shooting range for competitions from around the world. And the state wants to spend $10 million on it to get it going. Yet another reason I'm completely against government running things like this, because they don't know how to do it. They're politicians. They're bureaucrats. They're not business people. And it's also not the role of government to do stuff like that. All right, coming up on 7:30, local news is coming your way. After local news, update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. 7:45, Don Day's extended weather forecast. He's going to be on live with me to talk about that with some wet and wind today. Let's wake up Wyoming.
Glenn Woods. He talks to you, not at you. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is Wake Up Wyoming on K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Real quick here, since I did get off on two. I was answering text messages that people are sending me off the Wake Up Wyoming app, and one of them had to do with not voting for taxes in the Casper area, which also brought up their Hoganon Ski Resort, which was privately owned, not doing well. City buys it up, according to what everybody's telling me, and it's still operating at a loss. Now, on that note, Mike in Wheatland says, Glenn, same thing, and I do know this, Mike, you're right. Same thing happened in Cheyenne. The ice arena on the west side of town was originally privately built and owned. When it failed, the city bought it and now runs it at a loss every year. Or, of course, the loss is absorbed by the taxpayers, whom largely never set foot in the building. Now, I've been to the ice arena for other events, and it is used for a lot of things in the Cheyenne area. But once again, it was not something that the city of Cheyenne should have ever been running in the first place. And I even take a look at up in Gillette, Wyoming. They have the same thing with their Camplex. And the Camplex is a large facility. It's not just one building. It's many buildings. Huge area. And it was something that the city continually tried to get past. And this, unfortunately for politicians, they have to go to the public to get permission to do stuff like this. Gosh. Well, the public kept shooting it down, and the city kept trying to find different ways to get the Camplex built. They finally figured out how to do it. And it was something that the voters were not really happy with. Now they have the Camplex. And even though they have gotten some good events there. I mean, on occasion, they really do get some good events at the Camplex. But for the most part, the Camplex just loses money every single year, and a giant hole in the ground. And I understand those politicians in any city, in states for that matter, really want to build some things that attract people, attract the public. And I understand what they want to do, and I support what they want to do, but how they want to get it done is what I have a problem with, because it's not the role of government to build private industry, well, and for that matter, ice arenas, that's one of them. But, ski resorts, golf courses, a lot of things that happen in downtown areas. They do all sorts of things that they want to do and run, which is also why I'm opposed to. State of Wyoming wants to open up that shooting range, which for every so often when I talk about this, people will say, well, I have a shooting range in my county here in Wyoming. I know you do. But, no, we're talking about a world-class shooting range to bring big events to Wyoming. And I think it's a great idea to be done with private money, not state money. Greg is in Cheyenne. Morning, Glenn. I take umbrage at your statement about the Air Force members not being competent. Actually, Greg, several people. Yes, most people in the USAF are technicians. However, security forces are familiar with firearms. Also, this Kissinger is a commie rat bastard. Okay. Yeah, there's quite a few people, Greg, that have sent me notes because what happened is this. You see a current member of Congress, I think he is. He's doing a photo op, in case you haven't seen this. And in the photo op for the press, he's got the AR-15, and he's shooting at these targets, which are like 15 feet away. And so a little bit of shrapnel comes back and hits a reporter in the arm, and they have to bandage him up. And then I find out, this guy used to be a member of the Air Force. So my joke is, well, of course he can't shoot. He's Air Force. Now, Greg, of course, people in the Army and people in the Marines were laughing at that. They thought that was funny. What I'm doing is picking on the rivalry between the different, because, there's a big rivalry. On the one hand, when we actually do go to war, all of our branches of the military are brothers and they work together. But outside of that, there's always that rivalry. So there's people in the Marines and people in the Army going, well, of course you can't shoot. He's Air Force. That was And I know Air Force, they do keep some guns. It's not like nobody knows how to shoot. But come on, Greg, that was good. All right. We are coming up real soon here on Election Day. Real soon. Don't forget, I am not the one who's with you on a get out the vote campaign. With me, it's the stay out the vote campaign. And so as we get closer toward election time, you're going to be hearing more about that. Asking your friends and family members and coworkers who don't know who to vote for, and we're less than 2 weeks until voting time, that if you still haven't made up your mind and you're not up to speed on politics, that means you never pay attention. Please don't show up and guess at the polls. Do your country a favor and do your community a favor and stay home and don't vote. See, this is why you're not helping anybody. So as we get closer, I'm going to be ramping up my stay out the vote campaign rather than a get out the vote campaign. Rick and Cheyenne, the people's tax dollars once again. And you're right. 742, let's get Don Day on the line with Regional.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day. Day weather. Don, my compliments to where you dropped the snow this morning. It was right exactly where we needed it on this fire. Hang on just a second here. I seem to have lost Don Day, right? Redialing. See, that happens now and then. I have this great opening, Don, and suddenly the phone drops you.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I don't know. Okay, so I was complimenting you on dropping the snowfall this morning exactly where we needed it, right up above Sheridan in the mountains.
Yeah, if you point and click your mouse correctly, you can just, move, since we do control the weather, we can just, slide the snow over there by just point and click.
Okay. You're also going to give me a lot of nice. I got to drive from Casper down to Cheyenne today, and I'm noticing I'm going to have the wind at my back most of the way. That's going to save me a lot of gas.
Yeah, part of the way. Yeah, you'll have a little bit of a tailwind. And the good news is when you drive back, the wind will be less. So you may have a net gain.
Okay, that could actually work out that way. Now, getting through this, though, I mean, a little bit of wet this morning. That's here and there. A little bit of wind today. But then we get into the weekend, and that is still the forecast is holding for gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. This is a really good stretch of weather for high school football Friday. Tell you, high school football has had great weather this fall. Cowboy game Laramie Saturday evening looks great as well. Get some leaves raked, go out and do some hunting. Really nice weekend. Temperatures will be above average and it'll be dry and sunny.
Now, for that, you mentioned hunting. On that note, get that hunting out of the way is what the forecast seems to say, because you've got that. There comes that one after the next coming down as we get into this time of the year. So if you want to get that hunting done, now's the time.
Well, yeah, of course you have to have the elk cooperate.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't tend to, but okay. But it does look like we've got the usual lineup that we have this time of year.
Yeah, we've got two systems next week. One that's going to be moving in. Really, the biggest impacts will be Tuesday, Wednesday, but it will start to impact parts of the state late Monday night. Then another one behind it that looks like it's going to come in Friday and Saturday. And both systems will put snow in the mountains, without a doubt, and high confidence of that. And probably the first measurable snow of the season for lower elevations. We have to get closer before we can start talking about amounts. But boy, when we get past Monday, after a relatively mild day Monday, the rest of next week into that first weekend of November looks a lot colder.
All right. Thank you, Don. Don, day with day weather. And there's something that we do have to watch out for, because when these systems come in, there's going to be a lot of that, a lot colder. And snow-wise, yeah, we're going to get some of that, but a lot colder. Speaking of that, off to the ice box we go. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, I want to call out a cheater.
Oh, there are so many.
So this is Grand Teton Rangers, a ticket, an ultra runner. These are people who do cross-country running competitions.
Yeah.
Because he took an off-trail shortcut during a record attempt.
Okay, then he's a cheater.
Yes.
I'm not sure you get a ticket for that. But
I don't know. See, Rangers gave him a ticket for violating 36 CFR2.1b. I don't know. Well, of course, we all know what that is by memory, right? Which prohibits leaving the trail or walkway to shortcut between portions of the same trail or adjacent trail in a national park. The citation comes with a penalty of up to $5,000 and 6 months in jail.
What?
This is one of those places that you go that when they say stay on this trail, man, they mean
they
business.
Mean it.
Yeah.
You know, there's old stories like from the Boston Marathon and the New York Marathon. They'd start and then hop on the subway.
Yes.
And then go all the way till about 2 miles to go and then run the rest of the race.
Yes. See, I would say
that's cheating too. You know?
Well, I would go give those people a separate trophy. Because
for ingenuity or just,
yes.
or just for being malfeasance?
Because, first off, ingenuity. Also, you need to have done some research to know the New York subway system.
Yeah.
I mean, it is difficult to get around New York as it is.
Yeah. Well, they figured it out.
They certainly did.
Like, hey, you're looking, where did you come from?
So you're not going to win the race, but here's an award for original thinking. Now, are you at all a Star Trek fan?
I've seen it.
Okay. So they have I'm probably going to butcher this, a test for new captains called the Kobe Masha'aru test. And the test is, you're going to fail. But they want to see how you fail it. That's the point. It's a no-win scenario. Captain Kirk is the only person to have ever beaten the test. And he did it by sneaking in the middle of the night and rigging the computers so he wouldn't fail.
Really?
Yeah, and so they gave him an award for original thinking.
Yes.
Because that's what they want out of their captains, somebody who's capable of original thinking, whatever that might be. You're going to fail this test. What's your solution? To rig the test. So, yeah, for people who take shortcuts like that, I would say don't find them. I would give them a separate trophy for original thinking, but you're still a cheater and a loser, just so you know.
Yeah. I'll buy that too. All right, our YO Preps high school football poll is out for this week. In 4A, Sheridan is still number 1, and Campbell County is still number 2. Followed by Cheyenne East, Natrona, and Thunder Basin comes in at number 5. In 3A, it's still Star Valley and Cody 1-2. Followed by Riverton, Douglas, and Powell. In 2A, Bighorn now number 1. Mountain View slips to 2nd. Followed by Lovell, Cokeville, and Newcastle. In 1A, 9-man, Lingle Ford, Laramie, number 1. Pine Bluff still number 2. Followed by Southeast, Big Piney, and Saratoga. And in 1A, 6-man, Little Snake River remains the top-rated team. Burlington 2nd, and Camden 3rd, Riverside 4th, and Du Bois 5th. This will be the last regular season week of high school football around the state. So coming up on Friday in Class 4A, number 1 Sheridan will be at Laramie. Number 3 Cheyenne East travels to number 2 Campbell County in a big game in terms of seeding. Cheyenne Central will be in Casper to meet 4th-rated Natrona. Rock Springs in Casper to meet 5th-rated Kelly Walsh, and Cheyenne South will be in Gillette to take on Thunder Basin. In Class 2A, Glen Rock on Friday will be at Tongue River to conclude the season. Moorcroft will be at Burns. In 1A 9-man, Southeast will be at Pine Bluffs. In 1A 6-man on Friday, number 2 Burlington will be at Midwest at 1 in the afternoon. And then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, KC will travel over to Tensley. Our Wild Preps volleyball poll for the high schoolers is out. In 4A, Laramie is still the number 1 rated team, and Kelly Walsh is still number 2, followed by Thunder Basin, Sheridan, and Green River. In 3A, Cody remains number 1 with Douglas 2, Powell 3, Wheatland 4, and Lyman 5. In 2A, Bighorn and Tongue River are still 1-2 in that deal, followed by Wright, Sundance, and Pine Bluffs. And in 1A volleyball, Little Snake River leads the group, followed by Cokeville, Southeast, Linglefort, Laramie, and Upton. In high school volleyball from last night, Laramie defeated Cheyenne Central in 4 sets, 25-21, 25-19, 20-25, and 25-18. And Cheyenne East over Cheyenne South in straight sets, 25-13, 25-18, and 26-24. Tonight in Casper, it's the Volley Bowl, as Kelly Walsh will be at Natrona. And then due to recent cyberbullying incidents between these two schools, there'll be no student sections and adult supervision required. All students will be accompanied by an adult to enter the game and remain seated with their adult chaperone throughout the event. Students without adult supervision will be asked to leave.
Who's supervising the adults?
Well, some of them do.
Okay.
Trust me. Some of them do. But most of them don't.
Well, because some of those adults are the ones who need the supervision. You know that when you go to a local baseball game, like a Little League game, and it's the kids that are having a great time. It's the parents that need supervision.
You know what? It's only 5% of the parents.
Yes, but those parents...
Seriously, it's only 5% of the parents that are goofy.
Cause all the trouble. So those parents need to have a kid sitting next to them, telling them, sit down, shut up, or no ice cream.
Or the kid will say, stand up and cheer.
Yeah, cheer, but don't cuss.
Right.
That's all right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. Oh, by the way, we do have a local candidate coming your way. That's going to be right at 8:06. And then we get into open phones. People are still picking on me for saying that Air Force doesn't know how to shoot. It's Wake Up Wyoming. 6 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Thursday, which means I can see the weekend from here. And sitting in the studio with me is a local candidate who we talked to once before, and I have a general rule when it comes to candidates, which is during the primaries, everybody gets a chance to make their case. Whoever survives the primary can come back and make their case before the general election. So Ross Schriftman, I did it right?
Absolutely.
Oh, God, finally. Never get your name right. And I've known you for a little while, but okay. So for those who don't know, you're running for what, where?
I am running for City Council, Casper City Council in Ward 2, which goes from Poplar West out past Robertson Road. All that neighborhoods.
And you've been in the area how long?
4 years.
4 years now. Okay. Background from where?
Philadelphia suburbs.
As I always say, properly pronounced Philadelphia.
You got it.
Yeah, okay. Just so people know. If you wonder what we're talking about, go there. Okay, so now, here in the state of Wyoming, and you bring what kind of credentials to run for Ward 4?
Well, I'm a constitutional conservative. I believe in our U.S. and Wyoming Constitution. I've been a individual self-employed insurance agent for over 50 years, primarily focusing on Medicare supplement and long-term care insurance. I also spent 7 years during the 70s and 80s as a field auditor for the Auditor General's Department of Pennsylvania. And I'm a screenwriter, producer, and author of a book and movie, award-winning movie called My $1 Million Mom, about my mom who died of Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I was her caregiver.
And so there's what some of you and I have in common, as you know.
Yes.
So, okay. Now, so for this job, what inspired you to run for this position?
Well, when I got here and settled in, I started going to council meetings, and I'm going, what? Tax and spending, a lot of different programs. They have about two-thirds of the budget is something called business enterprises, and they're running a whole bunch of different businesses. And my view of local government is it should be focused on three things: public safety, infrastructure, and open space. Anything else that can be done by the private sector should not be the responsibility of local government.
Okay. So we were just talking a few minutes ago about things like Hogan Ski Resort, which is being run by the city right now.
Right.
So you would, get rid of that?
Well, I mean, you look at other ski resorts around the country, Stowe, Vail.
Yeah.
I don't think they're run by the local governments. I think they're private. I could check that, but I don't think, there should be a way that these wonderful services can be done by the private sector. They're done in other places.
Yeah. All right. So you've also talked about some other spending things. We were talking about this before you got on the air.
Yeah.
Including, what is this, you call it a pedestrian walk to nowhere? Is that what you call it?
Yes, pedestrian walk to nowhere. At a recent council meeting, the council was very pleased to announce that they got an award from the federal government under the ARPA program, which is the American Rescue Plan, for $3 million. The American Rescue Plan was designed to help municipalities recover after the coronavirus scare, when businesses were shut down and obviously revenue went down for the municipalities. What does a pedestrian bridge have to do with recovery for a municipality? And so I questioned that. I said, well, first of all, the bridge to nowhere would be a long poplar bridge over the river. Now, if anybody's been on that bridge lately, of course, there's construction for Poplar Street per se, not the bridge.
Right.
But once this construction starts for the walkway, aren't they going to have to close Poplar? Now, where would people be walking to and from? I don't understand that. So I asked, and they said, it'll connect to the trails. Well, I'm very active in the running community. The trail goes under the bridge. Nobody wants to go up on the bridge.
Right.
And if you're familiar with the corner of First and Poplar, it's a dangerous corner. To cross pedestrians there is a dangerous thing. I've seen accidents, vehicle accidents there all the time. There's turn lanes to go out Yellowstone to the west. There's turn lanes to go east into town. And one of the things the federal government wants to do is get more people walking. But the neighborhoods, like the neighborhood at Poplar and 13 or Collins and CY, if they want to walk into town, they'll just walk down Collins. There's a sidewalk past the state office building, and it's a half a mile. Why would they walk down to the river and then turn right on First and come into town and go over the river again? It just doesn't make sense. And I think what it is a use it or lose it proposition. So the federal government says, here's $3 million, spend it on a walkway. Now, the founders never envisioned that a municipality would be spending federal money on a walkway. That's not the responsibility of the federal government. They get a lot of grants from the federal government, and the federal government wants them to do certain things.
Okay. So, in other words, if you were to get the job, you'd be the guy saying, no, we're not spending money on this, we're not spending money on that. Would you look? I am glad that the city
finally decided to stop spending money to the airport. But would you look for other things like this you're trying to reduce?
There is a lot of things that the city owns. For instance, the other night, we have a building that the city owns, and it's managed by a management company for parking. In other cities, there's parking lots, and they're privately owned. I understand they do a very good job, the management company, but if we sold that to a private company, imagine the money that the city would have to keep the taxes down. Right. Other things like that's on the ballot, there's 8 propositions to raise the sales tax to 6%. If the more of those that are approved, the longer the tax goes. Now, 3 of those items, why aren't they already in the budget? Fire Station 1, the Metro Animal Rescue Shelter, and the 911 updated system. They should already be in the budget. And by the way, I have the endorsement. I'm very honored to have the endorsement of the firefighters, the Casper Firefighters Association. They risk their lives for us, and they're very courageous and appreciate all that they do. But these problems have been around for a long time, and they should be addressed. But then the council spends money on all kinds of other things.
I'm also kind of curious, without getting into too much detail on there, I was looking at, you want to upgrade 911. I get it. That sounds like a great thing. We should upgrade it. But the price tag seemed kind of high to me, and I would love to know some of the details about why does it cost so much to upgrade 911. I bet they can do it for a lot less.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm focused on, having been a field auditor, is the bidding process. Are we getting all the bids? Are we finding the lowest, most effective quality provider to provide these services? They spend money on consultants and those kinds of things and surveys. Some of that could be done by the staff. We have great staff in the city, and they're very expertise in a lot of different areas. But yeah, these are some of the things that we want to look at. I had a gentleman yesterday when I was campaigning, and I've been to 4,000 doors in the primary, and I'm going to hit 5,000 doors just this month.
Yeah.
So I'm on the street from 9 to 6, and a gentleman was saying, why should the animal rescue shelter cost $7 million? I don't know. I don't know what it should cost, but they had a great presentation the other night from an architect. And I imagine there was a cost for that. It wasn't the total design, but it was more of a concept presentation.
Right. Okay. So if someone wants to know more about what you're doing, I know you're knocking on everybody's door out there, but still, though, social media, website, someplace people can go?
Yeah. I'm running with Matt Larson. There's 2 seats in the 2nd Ward. He's a Navy vet and a geologist. We both have websites. My website is Schriftman4Casper.com. And
You're going to have to spell that
Absolutely.
name. Absolutely.
Okay. And by the way, I tell people my slogan is Schriftman will be your thriftman.
Oh, God.
So it's the website is Schriftman, SCHRIFTMAN, the number 4, Casper.com, and Matt's is Matt Larson for Casper.com. We have websites. We have my phone numbers on our literature. People can call my house and leave a message, and I'd be glad to talk to them.
Okay. We just have a little while to go, so you have a lot more walking to do.
Great. Thanks,
right.
Glenn.
Thanks for coming in. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
So many opinions, we had to build the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app to hold them all. Free download from AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so now that I got the guests out of the way, it's you and me and the most dangerous time of this program every single day.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject, fine by me. Real quick, I want to dive into the Stay Out the Vote campaign, as I do every couple of years. Now, I try not to beat it to death too much as we get into a voting cycle, but let me tell you the origins of this. I was watching as the Democrats in one campaign some years ago were having a Get Out the Vote campaign where they were encouraging people, we will pick you up and drive you to the polls and get you registered and you can vote that day. Really? You're just going to, anybody, doesn't matter who they are. What if they don't know what they're doing? What if they don't know who to vote for? They've never done any research. And I've worked at places, this place included, by the way. We get to election day and the boss starts sending out notes, get out there and vote. Hang on, there are some people that I know who I like, but they don't pay attention to anything when it comes to what the state of their nation is or their city or politics in any way. And because they don't, when it comes time to vote, they have no idea what's on the ballot. If I handed them a ballot right now, they have no idea what's on it. They've never seen it before. So why are we encouraging these people to vote? Now, usually the answer that I get is, well, Glenn, people have the right to vote, you know. Well, I never said they didn't have a right to vote. What I'm talking about is their responsibility as a voter to be informed.
Darling, would you fetch me a beer out of the fridge?
So, I know everything about the Kardashians, Beyonce, and stuff like that. But I know nothing about who my governor is or whoever runs the state. So this year I'm doing my patriotic duty and stay out the vote.
Thank you, darling. I can give you every major stat for the Rockies for the last 15 years, but I can't tell you who the mayor of Denver is. That's the reason why this year I'm doing my patriotic duty and stay out the vote.
Too lazy to stay informed? Then stay home. Stay out the vote. Your country is counting on you.
It is your responsibility as a citizen to not get involved if you are too lazy to stay informed. It's as simple as that. Now, most Stay Out the Vote or Get Out the Vote campaigns offer a free ride down to the polls, in which case I was offering something different when I originally did Stay Out the Vote. I would offer to call your boss and act like your doctor and tell your boss that you're homesick. I'll even send a note. And then I'll go ahead and pay for, what do you want, Netflix? You got a movie you want to watch or something you want to binge watch today? I'll go ahead and send that to you. And what else? Would you like pizza or Chinese food while you're there? Just so you stay home and don't go anywhere where you might accidentally vote.
Do you pay much attention to politics? So what, do you get your news from Facebook, Twitter, maybe some late-night comedy show? Do you even have any idea who your senator is? Who's the vice president? So how do you decide who you're going to vote for? What, do you flip a coin? Every election season, there are get-out-the-vote campaigns, asking completely unqualified voters to show up at the polls at the last minute and flip a coin. If you've spent the past few years completely uninformed and out of the loop, then do your country a favor. Don't show up at the polls. Don't vote. Take the day off. Go to the beach. Hang out at your local bar. Watch a ball game instead. Or check out some reality TV. Our nation's in sad shape because people like you have been voting. So this year, do your country a favor. Stay home. Stay out of the vote. America is depending on your apathy. And brought to you by the Campaign to Promote Uninformed Voter Apathy.
Paul, who's in Casper, says, especially when voting for judges. And I got to admit, I've done that and then gave myself a hard time for doing that. I would get to the part of the ballot that had who were the judges running for office, and I have no idea who these people are. So what am I supposed to do, guess? So I left it blank, which you're allowed to do, by the way. I'm just not going to put anything in there. I don't know. I don't know who these judges are. And how do I know if this judge is a good judge or a bad judge? And there's even people who just vote straight party line. Whatever party you're in, anyone who's got that letter. That's why, if you wonder why so many bad politicians, really, really bad politicians, keep winding up in office is because people think, well, I am this political party, so I'm going to go looking for anyone on the ballot who's in my political party, and I'm going to vote for them because they've got to be good, right? And that's what they're going by. But if people were to actually pay attention to what their politicians do when in office, well, come especially primary time, they might think of something completely different to do. They might pick somebody else entirely different. I mean, radically different. We'd get rid of a lot of the old establishment guard if people were really paying attention. And by the way, if you're threatening to move out of the country if Trump wins, we want to help.
Are you a liberal who actually said out loud that you would leave the country if a Republican was elected president?
I'm serving my ticket to get out of here if he wins, only because he probably have me deported anyway.
If any Republican gets nominated, I'm going to move to Canada with my entire family.
I'm sure you meant elected, not nominated. And you're sure Canada really wants you?
Now, I know some of you are saying that you'll move to Canada. Please don't.
Well, let it never be said that conservatives are not compassionate, because now a free service brought to you by Taxing the American People will help you move today with Move-A-Lib. With Move-A-Lib, we will arrive at your door the moment that the election is settled. Our fleet of Move-A-Lib professionals are anxious to get your sorry butts out of here immediately. Need more than one truck? Oh, for God's sakes, we'll take care of that for you. No problem. Can't afford a plane ticket? We'll put you on a boat. Just name a country and we'll provide all of the documentation to send you there as quickly as possible. Once you leave, you're not welcome back. And please don't let the screen door hit you on the way out. Call today. 1-800-MOVE-A-LIB. That's 1-800-MOVE-A-LIB. Reserve your moving van before November.
Okay, I said I was going to do this in the 8 o'clock hour, and we will right after our news break here. There's Wyoming Amendment A. It's a constitutional amendment that's going to be on your ballot, Amendment A, here in the state of Wyoming. And it has to do with property taxes. And a lot of people have been asking me to explain that. So there is an explanation on the Wake Up Wyoming website this morning. I wrote an article. You and I will talk about that in the next segment. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Listen to Glenn Woods anywhere you roam with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Still, I know the world's on fire, the situation's dire. A lot of work and courage gonna be required, but I'm just happy to be
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the phones we go because Tony Locke is here with us, which is a preview of coming attractions. Morning, Tony.
Good morning. How you doing today, Glenn?
Life is good. What you got for me?
Great. Well, I just kind of wanted to get a word out to your listeners, if I could, that the Public Services Commission is having a meeting concerning the Rocky Mountain power rate increases that we're seeing, and that's coming this upcoming Tuesday, October 29th. And it's here in Casper at the Thyra Thompson State Building over here in Casper. I just wanted to make sure we kind of get the word out to everyone and let them know this is an opportunity for people to have their voices heard. So,
okay, so they need to be where, when?
So over at the Thyra Thompson Building over near Natrona County, for those of you who kind of don't know where it's at, it's actually at 444 West Collins Drive. And Public Services Commission is having a meeting in the Roundhouse Conference Room at 5 p.m. on Tuesday evening, October 29th. So I would just ask everyone who's concerned about some of these increasing rates, please show up. I'd love to hear as many of you kind of testify as you can about concerns that you have. I think it's a great opportunity for people to make sure their voice is out there.
Okay. Could you do me a favor, since it's going to be on that date and time, could you call us that morning and remind us again?
Yes, on Tuesday morning?
Yes, absolutely.
That would be great. I'd love to do it.
All right. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you calling in. So 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. So now, several people have sent me notes, and not just recently, over the past few months. Hey, Glenn, what's Amendment A? It's on your ballot if you're in Wyoming with me. It's Amendment A. As in Constitutional Amendment A for your Wyoming Constitution. Now, there's a whole process to add or change anything in the Wyoming Constitution. It's a long process, which it's supposed to be, by the way. So what is this thing? It has to do with your property taxes here in the state of Wyoming. Now, I have some reservations about it because in my mind it overcomplicates the whole thing. But essentially what it does is it makes another category on your property taxes. So there's businesses, there's private, and so on. Now, I'm actually going to read this to you because this is not that hard to do. Whenever you're looking at some bill or a constitutional amendment for this case, and by the way, if this passes with the voters, still you got to get 2/3 of the Wyoming House and Senate to agree, then the governor has to sign it. Then there's more process as well. So it's not all a done deal. But you can go to this story that I have on the Wake Up Wyoming website this morning, and Miss Mary's alerting this out if you have the Wake Up Wyoming app. Or you can just use your search engine and just type in Wyoming Constitutional Amendment A, 2024. I put the date in to make sure I got this year's, because other years have had amendments too. Amendment A for whatever that year was, election years. Here's what it says. The following, and this is only 4 pages, and most of these pages are really not even the amendment itself. All right. The following is the ballot language, Constitutional Amendment A, as it appears in the 2024 election ballot. The adoption of this amendment would separate residential real property into its own class of property for purposes of property tax assessment. The amendment would then authorize the legislator to create subclass of owners occupied primary residence. And so they always do that at the beginning, which is to say, this is what the bill is about. So we haven't reached the bill yet, or the amendment, if you will. That's what it's about. Now, I wish they would do this in Washington, D.C. with bills. And nothing else can get attached to this. It's a standalone thing, as all bills in Wyoming are. All right, then. Original Senate Joint Resolution SJ3. 67th Legislature, General Session, a joint resolution to amend the Wyoming Constitution providing for assessment of residential real property as a separate property class for the purpose of taxation. Be it resolved by the legislature of the state of Wyoming, 2/3 of all the members of the 2 houses voting separately concurred therein. Section 1. The following proposal to amend the Wyoming Constitution, Article 15, Section 11, is proposed for submission to the electors. That's you, by the way. And then it goes into details about Article 15, Section 11, uniformly of assessment required. All property, except as in this Constitution otherwise provided, shall be uniformly valued at its full value as defined by the legislators in 4 classes as follows: gross production of minerals and mine products in lieu of taxes, property use and industrial purposes as defined by the legislator, residential property, and all other property personal. Now, if you want to continue reading this, because it does go into the last page, there's 2 pages that you really have to read to understand the bill. And then the last page is Speaker of the House, President of the Senate, and the governor to approve all of this, which is what they did. So all you have to do is type in, all taxable property shall be valued at its full value as defined by the legislature, which they haven't defined yet. Taxation shall be equal and uniform within each class and subclass of property. My only objection to this, and you can read this yourself and try to figure out what all of it means, they try to be as clear as possible. Yeah, there's a story again on the Wake Up Wyoming site, and if Miss Mary hasn't done it, she's going to alert it out anyway, so you can get a look at what Amendment A is and decide if you want to vote for this or not based on actually reading the amendment. Now, on that note, someone that I know who's read it is Rose, who's in Casper. Good morning, Rose.
Good morning, Glenn.
Yes.
I hope that's not your only concern with this.
Oh, no. I'm just trying to get people to read it. I want people to go there and read it so they understand it. Then they can go ahead and vote on it. But you have concerns, I know.
I have major concerns, and what should really be emphasized here is in that bill it says that they're going to separate residential.
Right.
Well, why isn't separating out residential alone enough? Why do they need to do a subclass if this is not an increase for taxes with a broader tax base?
Right.
If everybody can comprehend that. Secondly, with agricultural, and you were reading the part in there about uniformity and equality in our Constitution.
Right.
We have to be uniform. So when you go to ag and you consider that, if you're a rancher, Glenn, and you've got 5 houses, look how generous I'm being today.
Yeah.
And you've got ranch hands. You're commercial. But if I have my family members, but they're still owned by me,
right?
Are we going to tax that as residential?
So
or are we going to tax them as commercial? We've lost our uniformity.
Yeah, this is where you and I had talked about this before, where one of the problems I see immediately with this, before I even go into the detail, immediately, you do not solve a problem by making it more complicated. And this is making it way more complicated. That's why I would say I like to simplify it. I'm still wanting to do something more with that sales tax idea in lieu of any kind of a property tax in the state of Wyoming. That bill still needs to be worked on. But that would be a lot easier to deal with than trying to make something more complicated in order to simplify it, which is an oxymoron.
I could hug you and kiss you right now, Glenn, because I couldn't agree more.
Gosh. Send me flowers first.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you, Rose. I appreciate it. And there's other people sending me notes on this. Heidi, John, Tom, and Laramie. I will get to your notes in just a bit, and we'll continue this conversation into the next hour. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Want to talk to Glenn? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, did you try when it first came out Wyoming whiskey?
Yes.
And?
Terrible.
Yes, okay. Now, since then, and everybody said the same thing, I was with some friends of mine who opened up the first few bottles, and literally when it was being put up on the shelves at the liquor store I was at, they were being taken off the shelf just as fast.
Yeah.
And then I went to visit with some friends. Now, I don't drink. So I watched them, and all of them had the same expression.
It's bad.
Yeah. Okay, since then, though, it's made a lot of improvement.
It couldn't have gotten any worse.
Well, okay. So, see, Frank doesn't hold back.
No.
Here's a headline from Cowboy State Daily. Wyoming whiskey hits number 2 on the U.S. Today list of the nation's best whiskey.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it must have improved a lot.
Yeah. So they're now out there winning awards.
From people who are drunk on whiskey.
I hope so.
They got a nice building, though, out there in Kirby.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
really
I've been
nice.
out there. Oh,
really nice.
Yeah, I did go out because I was in Thermopolis, and I realized, isn't Kirby right up the road over there?
Yeah.
So I went up to visit, and the day I went there, they were closed and not, but you can get a tour of the place. It is a very nice-looking building.
It's really nice.
Yeah. But I think I did, after that, well, the first batch, apparently they were so interested in getting it out there, they released it too early. And then they decided, let's not make that mistake again. And so they've been really taking their time with these batches. And yeah, now they've got a high ratings and are starting to win awards with this thing. So if you haven't tried Wyoming whiskey, just don't open an original bottle.
No.
Not worth it.
Get one right out of the barrel now.
A fresh one, without the dust on it.
All right. High school football, the last week of the regular season will be tomorrow and Saturday in Class 4A. Sheridan will be at Laramie. Cheyenne East will travel to Gillette to meet Campbell County. Cheyenne Central and Casper to meet Natrona. Rock Springs and Casper to meet Kelly Walsh. And Cheyenne South will be in Gillette to take on Thunder Basin. In Class 2A tomorrow, Glen Rock will conclude the season at Tongue River in Dayton. And Moorcroft will be at Burns. And 1A 9-man. Southeast will be at Pine Bluffs on Friday. And then on Friday 1A and 1A 6-man. Burlington will be at Midwest at 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, and then at 2 p.m. on Saturday, KC will be at Tensley. Our latest YO Preps high school football poll is out. In 4A, Sheridan remains number 1 and Campbell County remains number 2. Followed by Cheyenne East, Natrona, and Thunder Basin now is 5th. In 3A, Star Valley and Cody still 1-2, followed by Riverton, Douglas, and Powell. In 2A, Bighorn back on top at number 1. Mountain View drops to number 2, followed by Lovell, Cokeville, and Newcastle. And 1A 9-man, Lingo, Fort Laramie, and Pine Bluff still 1-2, with Southeast 3, Big Piney 4, and Saratoga 5. And 1A 6-man, Little Snake River remains numero uno, followed by Burlington, Encampment, Riverside, and DuBois. In high school volleyball from last night, Laramie over Cheyenne Central in 4 sets, 25-21, 25-19, 20-25, and 25-18. Cheyenne East beat Cheyenne South in 3 straight, 25-13, 25-18, and 26-24. Tonight in Casper, it's the Volley Bowl, as Kelly Walsh will be over at Natrona. So in response to some recent cyberbullying incidents between these two schools, there'll be no student sections at the game, and adult supervision is required. All students must be accompanied by an adult to enter the game and must remain seated with their adult chaperone throughout the event. Students without adult supervision will be asked to leave. Oh, boy. All right, and our latest high school volleyball poll from YO Preps is out. Laramie remains number 1 in 4A. Kelly Walsh 2, Thunder Basin 3, Sheridan 4, Green River is 5. In 3A, Cody remains number 1. Followed by Douglas, Powell, Wheatland, and Lyman. In 2A, Bighorn and Tongue River still 1-2, with Wright 3rd, Sundance 4th, and Pine Bluffs 5th. And in 1A volleyball, Little Snake River 1, Cokeville 2, Southeast 3, Lingo, Fort Laramie 4, and Upton comes in at number 5. And that's it in sports.
I have a much better solution than adult supervision. Basically, during the game, we have someone who looks just like Nurse Ratched. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And she's walking around with a ball-peen hammer. And if somebody is caught cyberbullying, she will take their phone and use the hammer on the phone.
Or their fingers.
Yeah, well, yeah. And you want to see some people in freak-out mode, smash their phone.
Somebody's coming out, a comedy act, Dave Chappelle, is that no phones are allowed. You put them in a pouch that is secured, and then you come and grab that after the show is over.
Well, and not only
maybe even to get rid of their phone.
So your phone's not ringing and all of that during the course of the show, but also
you're not bullying anybody over your phone.
Yes, and you're not sitting there texting when you're supposed to be paying attention.
Right.
How about that? All right, thank you, Frank. Now, even me, look, I know to put my phone away when I'm on the air here. My phone is on Do Not Disturb mode, and it's way on the other side of the room. So, and every so often, friends try to text me when I'm on the air. Sorry. Let's wake up on them.
And Wednesday.
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It is a Thursday. And I swear I can see the weekend from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Dissolving Underwear. Because who wants to wear wet undies anyway?
Just do what I do. Just don't wear any.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Now, earlier this morning, I had a candidate on this program, and candidates are allowed to come on. I always let them on, no matter who they're from. Murad Ben David. She had run for Congress a couple of times here in the state of Wyoming. Ran as a Democrat, never won anything. And I disagreed with everything that woman had to say. But, you know, she's allowed on. She's running for office, and I was very respectful. I say this because, let me make sure I have the right person here. I think this was Mike over there in Wheatland. Is that right? Yeah, sending me a note saying, Glenn, are you planning to having Sarah Burlingame on? Now, for those who don't know, when it comes to liberals in the state of Wyoming, you don't get much more leftist than Sarah Burlingame. And she has been a member of the Wyoming House of Representatives. And in one term, I believe, then she was voted out. So she now lives somewhere else and she's running again. So am I planning to have Sarah Burlingame on for an interview before the election, or did she dodge your show as usual? I heard Doug Randall's interview with her on his show last Sunday, but he really does impress her on anything. He allowed her to skirt controversial issues and spew the general liberal bumper sticker platitudes without any follow-ups. I like Doug, but his interview style is rather soft, and he doesn't seem to press anyone. Well, okay. What Doug does is, to be very fair to Doug, is he tries to remain non-biased. Doug Randall, very good newsman. He just asks questions and lets the answers fall where they may, and you decide. Now, I have known Sarah Burlingame over the years, and I have had her on this program, but it's been a while. At some point, she just decided she didn't like me anymore. I have never said an unkind word to her. I've had her on this program, and I've talked to her about issues, and I did press her on some things that made her justify, but I didn't harass her, and I let her talk. I'm a firm believer in letting people who I disagree with have a chance to explain themselves. And so if she ever wants to come on, she certainly can. All right. Off to the phones we go. By the way, 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Mike is in Laramie. Hello, Mike.
Good morning, Glenn.
Yes, sir.
Back to property taxes. The idea that, like Steve Horshman's bill, to eliminate the property tax, replace it with the sales tax, has another advantage besides simplifying everything.
Yeah.
How many projects have you seen around cities and counties where the government comes along and says we're going to fund it by increasing property tax?
Right. Yeah.
Eliminate the property tax, they can't spend that money anymore.
Oh, so that's why some people might not like it.
Yeah, down here in Laramie, the rec center is on the property tax bill.
Yeah.
I think in Casper they're going to fund the senior citizen center by raising property taxes. If there's no property tax, they can't do it.
What are they going to do? Whoop. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I just heard all sorts of weird beeping noises, which I can only assume is our federal government jacking into our call.
It's possible.
It's got to be it here. I'm going all tin hat on this one. All right, here's the other thing. I like something for the to replace at the federal level your income tax with something called fair tax, which is basically the same thing. Now, the Democrats try to sell it as they want to raise a national sales tax. What they don't tell you is it would get rid of the income tax. It's a really good proposal, but one of the things it would do is take away all of the power that the federal government has, because you only pay taxes when you buy something at the retail level. And so they can't try to manipulate your behavior like they do through income taxes right now.
Oh, yeah.
And so they don't want it.
That's true. Yeah, that's anything that that's why some of the problem. I wonder if that's why Horshman's bill didn't get through the legislature last year.
Yeah, it was on its way, then all of a sudden it got shot down at the last minute.
It did.
So I would like it, and I do think, as all bills are, when something new is proposed like this, we have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, because there's always some details that we didn't think about, when we were originally passing it. So let's go ahead and go through the bill, and let's reintroduce that one.
But in principle, it's got a lot going for it.
It does, yeah.
You won't have to pay rent to the government, and you can simplify, because a lot of the property tax laws, there's a carve-out. If you make less than so much money, you get a refund. If you're a veteran, you get your property tax law, but you have to be a combat veteran.
Right, yeah.
If you didn't go to combat, you don't get that carve-out. There was something about, if you live in your house for 20 years and you're over 65, you get a carve-out, but it only lasts for 2 years. We get rid of all the carve-outs.
Yeah.
You get the greatest good for the greatest number, because it was like 95% of the population would be affected by this.
Right.
What's not to like about it?
I think it's a great idea. All right. Thank you, Mike. I'm going to...
Wait a minute. Wait
Go
a
ahead.
minute.
Go
Your
ahead.
promise about the Air Force earlier.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I wasn't going to let you get away with this.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, for all those, grunts and gyrenes and jarheads and stillborns and Ranger Ricks and Brunch Berets with their kitty calibers. I've got 3,000 pounds of high explosive incendiary I can drop on your head. Beat that. And remember, those guys down at Warren with the nuclear-tipped missiles, they're Air Force. You want to play firepower? I win.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Which, by the way, I'm about to go. Hang on, David. David is in Cheyenne, wants to talk about the same thing. I got to catch everybody up to speed, Dave, before I let you on. So what happened was there was a guy, he's a congressman. He's running for Congress again. He's a Democrat. And he has to do a photo op to make himself look like he's in the conservative camp, too. So he's going to be at a shooting range shooting an AR-15. The target, however, is only 15 feet away. And it's a metal target. And some fragments of the bullet hit a reporter in the arm. The reporter's fine. But they had to bandage him up. And then I look at the record of the congressman, and he is former Air Force. And my comment was, knowing what it would do to you military folks out there with all your rivalries, I said, well, of course he can't shoot an AR-15. He's Air Force. With that, Dave is in Cheyenne. Hi, Dave.
Well, actually, I'm in Riverton, but thank you.
Okay.
And but anyway, we're talking about the Air Force.
Yeah.
And long time ago, a lifetime ago, back in '85, I was getting recruited over here in Casper, getting ready for MEPS, and it used to be in the Hilltop Bank building.
Okay.
With all of them. So those guys were practical jokers.
Right.
So I went to the bathroom. I had to go do the whole, pee thing.
Yeah.
And I just had to laugh because they were making fun of the Air Force. There's this sign right there on top of the toilet because their old logo was aim high. and I thought, oh, wow, because I was getting recruited into the Navy, and we had a good laugh. If I would have had a cell phone back then, I would have took a picture. I just thought it was funny talking about shooting, and here they say aim high on top of the toilet.
See, I knew though the moment I said that all of the rivalries will get going again, and so I have a good time with the guy. Here's what I do love though, it's friendly rivalry. Because when it comes down to it and we go to war, all you guys are together and you have each other's backs. In the meantime, you razz the hell out of each other, which I just think is nothing but a good time. All right.
But, yeah, that was always funny in calling the Air Force just civilians in a uniform.
Right. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you calling in from Riverton. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
If I manage to make it through this week, I would like my straitjacket to be black leather and my helmet to sparkle. Thank you.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
9:21 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Okay. Real quick here, it's important in your diet that you get sending file. I see it. I see it, Miss Mary. I will play that one next. It's important that you get a little bit of a salad in your diet. And let's make sure we understand that that's why Kamala Harris speaks in word salad, because she's worried that you're not getting your greens. I'm trying to help her out in somewhere. She's on CNN. It's a town hall style meeting. So there she is with the moderator, and she's being asked a very simple question, which she doesn't answer. Here we go.
Voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done. And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are still problems that we need to fix.
Oh, God, she's so brave. She's not going to shy away. Let's pick that apart. First, Anderson Cooper asked the question.
Voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Okay, it's a very good question. All of these things we're talking about, inflation and healthcare and the border and et cetera, all of these things, the national debt, all of these things that need to get done, but nothing got done. Why not? So he's asking for not what you're going to do, but why didn't you is the question. So
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson.
Okay. Oh, my God, that was condescending. Did you hear the condescending? I definitely did. That was very condescending of her. That was not mansplaining. That was womansplaining.
And I'm pointing out things that need to be done.
In other words, translation, I'm changing the subject right now.
That haven't been done, but need to be done.
And so there's where you start to toss the salad. So the words get jumbled up, okay, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey.
Now, she's so brave, she's not going to shy away.
These are still problems that we need to fix.
Okay. And you notice not what happened there, but what didn't happen there. Yeah, that would be answering the question, which she didn't do. So, no, she did. She completely avoided the question, and he let her get away with that. So, Dwayne is in Cheyenne as we're still talking about the military here. Morning, Dwayne.
Morning. How are you, Glenn?
Good, sir. What you got?
So, do you know why the Army runs 2 miles for their physical fitness test?
No, sir, I do not.
Because that's as far as they have to retreat before the Marines get
Oh,
there.
God. I know a Marine in the building, and I'm going to tell him that one.
All right. Have a good evening.
All right,
good
thanks.
Morning,
Best thing I ever did on the air today was tell that joke. Okay, I will be in Cheyenne tonight at Thankful Thursday with this guy.
Go again, too, or?
If we just start over that.
Yeah, okay. They're setting up. Here they go.
Go ahead. Hello, Cheyenne. Here we are today for another Thankful Thursday. I am so excited about this one. Thankful Thursday has been been going around for a long time, but we have After School for Kids. After School for Kids is known as Ask. Now, we have Kathleen and Andrea in the studio with us. Now, first off, I'm going to start with Kathleen. Ask is a great program. It kind of speaks for itself, but why are we raising money today at Thankful Thursday for our future, basically supporting our children?
We run After School for Kids in 6 elementary schools and also Triumph High for no cost so that kids can have an experience after school where they can come and eat snack, they can do homework, they get help with their schoolwork. We do academic improvement work so kids can do project-based learning. They love it, and they can come right from the classroom. So for kids, for families to be able to be supported like that is very important to continue.
Oh, I love it. I know we got to work towards our future here, and we're doing it tonight at Thankful Thursday. We're going to be at the Lincoln Way Event Hall, 3839 East Lincoln Way. We're located right on the corner of Ridge Road and Lincoln Way. It's going to be a great time. Doors open at 4 o'clock. Live auction doesn't start till 6 o'clock. So if you're getting off work, you have time to get there for the live auction. But you could win $1,000 just for walking in the door. But Andrea, now we have a lot of things planned. You have 50-50 raffle. You have your live auction. And I think you made foods. Tell us a little bit. First, let's start with the live auction. I know you have a little bit for everybody, and we talked about this paranormal thing. Now, I'm not into being scared, but tell us a little bit about a couple of your key items.
Well, I mean, if you're into paranormal, it's for you because we got a VIP pass for 4 with Way Out West Paranormal. So if you love the paranormal, it is for you. If I lived here full time, I would snag it right up. I mean, also with that, I mean, you could even get a night stay at Nagle Warren Mansion. So if you're really into haunted, that would be great. But yeah, like you said, we have a mixture of everything. You know, we wanted to get the whole community of Cheyenne so that we could show that we want the community to support Cheyenne in itself, just like we want the community to support the kids in their future and bringing it up. We have tickets for the University of Wyoming, and then if you're a real super fan of UW, we have a UW super fan package to go with it. That's another item. I mean, we have hair care, we have handyman packages. Like I said, we're mixed all over the place. Even if you want to get a puppy in the future, we have a puppy adoption. So we're mixed everywhere.
And the best thing about this is all the money is going to help support our children right here in Laramie County. Now, we talked about food. Are you going to have food? Because if you're just getting off work, you want to come out and join us and have some food.
We are. We're going to have homemade chili. And we're also going to have nice, fresh cinnamon rolls. They'll be coming out of the oven like an hour before the event starts.
I like it. All right, we're at the Linkaway Event Hall, 3839 East Linkaway. Come on out and join the fun. Doors open at 4 o'clock. Live auction starts at 6 o'clock. Your first chance to win $1,000 is going to be at 5 o'clock. Come on out and join the fun. We are raising money for after school for kids at Thankful Thursday.
And I will be there with Alf for the entire, well, all the way till 6 o'clock tonight. Hope to see you there. All Miss Mary heard in that entire interview was they have puppy adoptions. That's it. Okay. Coming up on some local news we got to take care of, and after local news update on the weather forecast, you and I get back into it again. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about. You can change the subject, or tell a joke about one of the armed services if you're into that this morning. Because I'll admit, I started it. But you can finish it. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
If it's happening in Wyoming, it's on Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods from K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Man, we covered a lot of stuff today, didn't we? That's okay, because, look, it keeps the show from being boring. Here's one for you. NASA, which, by the way, like many of you, I grew up just inspired by and loving everything NASA. But they got so heavily bureaucratic, they couldn't even launch a rocket. For the longest time, we were taking our men and materials to Russia to hitch a ride on their rockets because NASA couldn't launch their own. Now, this actually happened during the Obama administration, although you can't give credit to Obama. Obama hired a woman to head NASA, and she decided the way to go would be to privatize it. And by privatizing it, that's what gave rise to like SpaceX and other such companies that are in the race now to get those lucrative government contracts. But still, NASA has a problem with bureaucracy. Headline for you. NASA spent millions on environmental justice and equity grants despite their budget woes. Daily Caller Foundation, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, shelled out millions of dollars in awards to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as environmental justice, despite recently laying off staff and shuttering space programs due to budget problems. NASA has allocated about $10 million. How many people can you keep employed with $10 million? To pay out dozens of grants and contracts aimed at advancing some elements of environmental justice, or DEI, since 2020. Federal spending records show. The agency is multiple billions of dollars short of funding the requirement funding for completing its current missions, and has fired hundreds of people working on its Mars mission over budgetary concerns. They may not have enough funding to maintain multi-billion-dollar things like a space telescope, according to Washington Post records. Boy, if they only spent that money in a way that made sense, right? This is a quote, the environmental justice movement focuses on ensuring communities receive equitable protection from natural and human-induced environmental hazards, according to NASA's webpage. It embodies the principle that all communities should be heard and represented in decision-making. And doing that costs about $10 million and lays off a bunch of people. What you could do with that money? That's $10 million. In fact, hang on a second here. I think I have, I haven't played this one in a little while. Let me give you an example of something.
Okay, for $10 billion, would you? Yes. No, I didn't finish the question. Listen here. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, that could come out of that little pie hole of yours to make me turn down $10 billion. Even if one random person had to die? Yes. The answer is yes. Okay, what if it was someone you knew? Yes, take my aunt, take my grandma. Hell, you could blow the block up. Can you even fathom how much money $10 billion is? Oh, it's just a hypothetical. And if it was a reality, I'd be first in line.
So here's NASA spending all of this money on things that actually get what? Get what? Exactly. Yeah, didn't do anything. This is not the only reason, but part of the reason NASA is in so much trouble. And how about when we give NASA money? And the article I was reading in part says, well, because of budget cuts to NASA. If NASA would like to give itself a big fat raise, it could do it by actually spending money on things like, I don't know, just tossing it out there, going to space. How about that? Instead of on a bunch of programs that have nothing to do with space, and $10 million on a bunch of programs that are designed just to make people feel good. And they don't even actually achieve that anyway. But that's the idea. So when I talk about cutting government spending drastically, in fact, I would even, and I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, I would drastically cut military spending. But I would keep the same size military that we have today. And I would do it just by getting rid of, first off, let's get rid of all the DEI in the military. Let's get rid of that. We'll start with that. Just get rid of it. And then for those of you who did spend time in the military, let's get rid of all the waste. Now imagine how much money the military would have to spend on things that actually really do matter. Then what kind of a military would we have? Yeah, okay, I can do that for any branch of the government too. So this is just a massive waste of money. Like I said, I used to admire the hell out of NASA, but these days, wow. The whole thing just needs to be really cleaned out and redone in an efficient, business-like way. Okay, Paul in Casper and Tumbleweeds in KC both have military jokes. Now, for those who didn't hear, I started it. And I knew the rivalry was going to get going. I'm hanging on to your jokes because I got to go to Frank, who's going to give us one more sports report. And I always have something interesting to talk to Frank about. So I'm going to bring this up. And Paul and Tumbleweeds, I'm going to bring up your jokes that you just laid in front of me. See, one here is... I'm sorry. It's Tumbleweeds and Tony. At Tony's in Cheyenne, and Tumbleweeds in KC. So one is a Navy joke, and the other is a Coast Guard joke. Hang in there. We'll get to it. 9:42, Wake Up.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
Coming up on 9:48, off we go to the Icebox. Frank Gambino's waiting by. Okay, Frank, before I tell you what's going on here, I will admit right up front, it's all my fault.
All right, well, that's nothing new.
No, it isn't. So I was pointing out that there is a guy who's running for re-election, Congress, as a Democrat, to prove, though, to his conservative constituents that he can be a very conservative guy. Okay. He goes up to the shooting range with an AR-15. Okay. And the targets are only like 15 feet away.
Right.
They're metal targets. And so a piece of debris from one of the bullet fragments comes back and hits a reporter in the arm.
I saw that. They were working on him.
Yes, and the reporter's fine.
Yeah.
My joke was I took a look at who the congressman was, and I said, well, it's no wonder he can't shoot an AR-15. He's former Air Force.
Well.
Okay. So the calls start to come in.
Of course. You do know that in Cheyenne there is a big Air Force facility.
Yes, I do know.
Very big.
Yeah, no, actually, that's not even Air Force. No, that's National Guard.
No.
You mean the only Air Force base in the country that doesn't have any planes.
Yeah, Warren.
Yes, okay, Warren Air Force Base. All right.
But they have more power than you in their tiny fingertip.
Oh, they could nuke me right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe they should.
Yeah, and so people start to call. And I'm hearing stuff like, the U.S. Army sleeps beneath the stars. The U.S. Navy uses the stars for navigation. The Air Force chooses their hotels by the stars. My friend kept asking what military rank I was. I kept telling him it's private.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, think about it. Okay.
Oh, and I've seen those before between the Marines.
Oh my God.
And the Army, and the Navy, and the Marines, and the Army.
I got a call earlier. So why does the Army run 2 miles a day? That's how far they're going to have to retreat in order to get the Marines to show up and win. Yes. So it's been doing it. I've been getting this all morning long. All I had to do was say the guy doesn't know how to shoot an AR-15. And here we go. It's just nonstop, which I knew was going to happen.
You did this on purpose, didn't you?
Well, yeah, Frank.
I read you like a book.
Yeah.
Well, and people are pretty passionate about that stuff,
Yeah. What I like, and I've mentioned this to a few of the callers here, is that I love, it's like sports, Frank.
Yeah.
There's the rivalries.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
big
like
time.
the Army-Navy football game?
Oh, my Lord, yeah. And then the jokes about whether the Coast Guard is even a branch of the military. Oh, man. Ooh. So, but then when it comes time, though, to defend the country, they all have each other's backs.
Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah, okay. Collective military hardships. One day, an airman, an Army soldier, and a Marine were talking about the hardships they faced during their last deployment. Airman, the worst was when the air conditioner broke in our tent and it was 110 degrees. The soldier, no way, you guys got air conditioners? The Marine says, wait, you had tents?
Yeah.
So, you see, this is why I start stuff on the air, Frank, okay?
It works sometimes. High school volleyball from last night. Laramie over Cheyenne Central 25-21, 25-19, 20-25, and 25-18. And Cheyenne East over Cheyenne South 25-13, 25-18, and 26-24. Tonight, Kelly Walsh will be at Natrona for the annual Volley Bowl. In response to recent cyberbullying incidents impacting both of the schools, there'll be no student sections at the game. All adult supervision is required. All students must be accompanied by an adult to enter the game and remain seated with their adult chaperone throughout the event. Students without adult supervision will be asked to leave. Okie dokie. Our latest high school volleyball poll is out. In 4A, Laramie number 1, Kelly Walsh 2, Thunder Basin 3, Sheridan 4, Green River 5. In 3A, Cody is remaining number 1, followed by Douglas, Powell, Wheatland, and Lyman. In 2A, Bighorn and Tongue River still 1-2, followed by Wright, Sundance, and Pine Bluffs. Little Snake River leads the 1A ranks with Cokeville 2nd, Southeast 3rd, Lingo Fort, Laramie 4th, and Upton 5th. High school football, the regular season will end this weekend, Friday and Saturday. In 4A, Sheridan will be at Laramie. Cheyenne East goes up to Gillette to take on Campbell County. Cheyenne Central to Casper to meet Natrona. Rock Springs to Casper to meet Kelly Walsh. And Cheyenne South to Gillette to meet Thunder Basin. In Class 2A, Glen Rock will be at Tongue River on Friday, and Moorcroft will be at Burns. In 1A 9-man, Southeast at Pine Bluffs on Friday. And also on Friday in 1A 6-man, Burlington will be at Midwest at 1 in the afternoon. Then on Saturday, Casey will be at 10 Sleep at 2 in the afternoon. And our latest Wild Preps high school football poll is out. Sheridan and Campbell County remain 1, 2, and 4A. East is 3rd, Natrona 4th, and Thunder Basin moves into the top 5. In 3A, Star Valley and Cody 1, 2, followed by Riverton, Douglas, and Powell. In 2A, Bighorn moves up to number 1. Mountain View moves down to 2, with Lovell, Cokeville, and Newcastle rounding out the top 5. In 1A 9-man, Lingle and Pine Bluff still 1, 2, Southeast 3, Big Piney 4, Saratoga 5. And in 1A 6-man, Little Snake River remaining number 1 and undefeated, followed by Burlington, Encampment, Riverside, and DuBois. So that's it in sports.
Okay, then Frank takes off for the weekend and goes to...
I'm going to go to Cheyenne for the state cross-country meet. I think I'll go to Midwest on Friday for a football game. There'll be a football game here in Casper on Friday, then Cheyenne on Saturday. And
so you're making a big circle out of it.
That's my life. I do come full circle, Glenn.
Yes, you do. Do you stay in Midwest?
No, I just run up the game's 1 in the afternoon. It takes me about 35 minutes to get there, 35 minutes to get home.
No place to stay. I was about to say, there's no hotel there. There used to be.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the big building there.
Yeah. And that's where people actually park their cars sometimes and watch the game from up over there.
Do you sit up on the hill and watch it from above?
No, I can stand right next to the players.
Oh, okay. You get to. All right. I've been tempted to go sit up on the hillside just for the fun of it.
You should go.
Yeah. No, I'll be down in Cheyenne. All right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business and news time, it's Wake Up Wyoming.